moving swiftly on, we've got Mr. Geremy Thomas. Geremy is the CEO at Sativa Investments PLC, which seeks to invest in companies well placed to take advantage of the dynamic regulatory environment surrounding medical cannabis. He does not support Crystal Palace and does not wear red trousers. Over to you.
Actually, I do wear red trousers, but not in public.
Okay, thank you for that.
Hello, thank you for attending this evening's function. My name's Geremy. I am the CEO of Sativa Investments. My background is I am a serial entrepreneur who hasn't prepared a slideshow, by the way, but I was in the mobile phone business before cellular radio was launched. With my uncle, we captured 10% of the UK market. We sold out for lots and lots of cash. I was in the telecoms and internet sector when that took off, and most recently I created a consumer finance business which I sold 6 months ago for £53 million. I am interested in markets that are in their infancy and are likely to grow rapidly. How I got into the medical cannabis business is a colleague of mine or a friend of mine who knew I had cashed up from my previous business said, "Geremy, come to North London. You should meet this company who are producing CBD products and they need your money." I said, "I don't really know what CBD is, but I'll go along." So there was a business who were creating products that derive from the cannabis plant, which are becoming more and more popular in the UK for treating a range of ailments, which I can go into later. They appeared to me to be very enthusiastic. They had too much business. They couldn't cope with the demand. And I thought, well, this is something I'd like to look into. So I then traveled to Canada and I went to an investor conference focused on medicinal cannabis. And since then I've been to Australia and I've been to the Netherlands and I've been to Singapore. And I learned enough about the business to know that this was a sector that I really wanted to be involved in. I then met Patrick, who was incredibly supportive, who had some personal exposure to the CBD marketplace. CBD being the non-psychoactive side of the cannabis plant. And really, thanks to Patrick and his team, he helped me arrive at today's presentation. The message is, in North America, this sector is huge. This sector is attracting inflows of capital from private investors through family offices through to institutions. The investment is going into production, distribution. There are, in terms of regulatory environments, we are very much behind the curve here in the UK. I believe that will change. But in Canada, I used to live in Vancouver, so I was familiar with some of the product consumers in Canada. They legalized medical use in 2001. There are 28 states in America now that have licensed cannabis for medical use. There are some California, just under 40 million people are likely to are a legalized market for both medicinal use and recreational use. California in 2019, the pundits are predicting that sales of marijuana will exceed sales of beer. I mean, that's the scale of the business out there. We at Sativa are interested in the medicinal element of or part of the market, and it's important to understand that the plant, the cannabis plant, has over 100 cannabinoids, which are the component parts of the plant. The famous ones are THC, which is the well, you know all about this, which is the component that makes you high, and there's CBD. Now, the same plant has the capability of producing either in terms of its concentration. So for recreational use in California, the growers would be interested in high levels of THC. What we're interested in is high levels of CBD and very low, if not negligible, levels of THC. CBD, if you can imagine, we all have an endocannabinoid system within us, and CBD has been identified as a compound that actually slows up some of the activities, the level of activities that cause people problems. So 3 weeks ago there was a petition handed into Parliament about a young man called Alfie Dingley who suffered from 30 seizures a day. His life was virtually unbearable. His parents, having exhausted traditional treatments, went to the Netherlands and sourced medicinal cannabis oil. Having started on that treatment, literally 3 days later, those seizures reduced to none, maybe one a day. Incredible. And the situation here in the UK is he cannot get, or people like him cannot get that treatment. So my perception and what Sativa is about is preparing for a change in regulation here in the UK, and in the meantime looking at Europe as an opportunity for our investment strategy. Germany is the largest European medicinal cannabis marketplace, having been sanctioned in 2017. In March of 2017, 500 prescriptions were written in Germany. In June of 2017, 5,000 were written. It is a big opportunity which is driven by a change in public perception of the space, and it is driven by real results that are being seen in the patient community. Our business is about learning from what's going on in the States, in Canada, in Israel, in the Netherlands, in certain countries around Eastern Europe, and trying to identify businesses that we can invest in that will benefit from business inflows in those markets and here in the UK. I'm happy to answer questions. I haven't prepared a detailed presentation, but basically my instinct, which is backed by the people that have supported me to date, is that this market has been, UK investors haven't been exposed to this market, whereas North American investors have seen the potential. The money flows suggest that it's a huge market. GW Pharma was a business that you were involved in, he floated it in the UK. It now has a market cap of £1.4 billion. It has twice that. Christ, it was a hell of a day. It has 23 football pitches of production of growing under glass
at the secret location
in Norfolk. It is the GW Pharma is an example of a business that identified the opportunity very early. It started out here in the UK. It was frustrated with the response it had from the UK investment community, went to the States, and has seen a huge increase in its a big uptake. So I think Sativa Investments is in the right space, ahead of time, supported by a great team at NEX, and so happy to answer any questions.
You've got a fantastic link to the mining world, actually, because Vancouver and Denver are sort of hotbeds of southern mining investment. It's all legalised over there. Apart from planting Crystal Palace with marijuana, how are you? What I can't get is that we might be doing the Brexit and all the rest of it, but how are you going to get around the fairly slow UK regulation, whereas everyone else is accelerating away? Are you just waiting for that to happen to be first mover over here?
The UK is behind the curve, but the UK is sensitive to public opinion, and it's really relatively recently that public opinion has shifted away from the war on drugs culture, which was very much promoted in the 70s from the States, from America. It's very interesting to look at why cannabis has been public enemy number one, and why there hasn't been research and development going in, enough research and development going in to generate products that are out there now that help people like Alfie Dingley. We believe that the regulatory authorities will be sensitive to not only the activities around the world in these marketplaces, but also the tax revenues that the governments and the states that are open to this product are bringing in. So I'm confident that the regulatory environment here will change. And also, I mean, I'm in, coming back to those people in North London that were making the CBD products. There is a definite move now within the regulatory environment to cover the CBD market. So the Food Standards Agency are working on a model which we're contributing to regulate that business here in the UK, which is significant. The largest CBD producer here in the UK is doing just over £1 million a month in terms of revenue at an 80% margin. It's a big business.
I think you're absolutely right.
Great, I like you. Who are you?
No, I mean, I know people sort of doing, perfectly nice people sort of feeling like they're doing deals on cannabis because they've got cancer and things like that, and it does help them, and I know it has helped them. So I think it's a good thing. So that's good. But what's your competition in the market? I mean, we all know it is a good thing, and it is happening elsewhere. So is there anyone else doing what you're doing right now?
I think, Patrick, you would agree. We are GW Pharma were in the UK market as a listed company. They left and they are now on NASDAQ, and this was some years ago. At this moment in time, we are the first and only medicinal cannabis quoted business in London. What is our competition? Our competition are the businesses that have 2 or 3 or 4 years head start in North America. That is a fact, but it's also a benefit for me because as I said earlier, I've been traveling the world going to see a lot of investment brokers. I've met the people who are on the receiving end of that investment. I've looked at their growing facilities. I've looked at some of the distribution activities. I've recognised that branding is very important, having sat down with some of the players in California. I think that's a benefit for us because I can learn from all those markets and they've gone through a lot of teething troubles, and I hopefully won't make those investment mistakes.
One more question.
Can you blockchain and tokenize pre-production?
Yeah, big fan. Also, I've been researching the area for a number of years myself. My question is, how far do you think we are from the medical scientific kind of breakthroughs being irrefutable to the point where lawmakers have to kind of take action and embed this within the culture as we know?
I don't know. All I can say is that there were many, many thousand signatures on this petition that went to Parliament 3 weeks ago. And there are some well-known names behind Sir Richard Branson, Sting, lots of famous people who are known consumers of the product who have got behind the thing. I think there's a momentum building, and I really believe that we will see a major change. Why should that kid, why should his parents have to go to the Netherlands and bring the product in illegally to help him? I mean, that just seems daft to me. And I'm sure that those that in positions of influence recognise that.